Tim Kaine, one of the original creators of Fallout, and someone who openly said that the Fallout TV show is good and he sees no problems with that. And now he is going to answer the question, does he want to work in Fallout again? And I honestly think yes. The answer is going to be yes. Because if you originally make Fallout, if you're one of those people, you create the lore, you create the idea, you're a part of it, I see absolutely no way that you would be fine with the Fallout TV show completely destroying everything you have built for the sake of nothing. Without obviously wanting to return to work on the franchise.
Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to answer the question, would I work on Fallout again? In the last few months, this question has overtaken my most frequently asked question, how do I get a job in the game industry? Which I have made a video with an answer and then a video about the answer. So I've done how to get a job in the game industry and then making a demo, which is the answer to that. So I want to answer would I work on Fallout again, but you have to realize that the answer is complicated, but not because of what you think. First of all, there's a lot of different questions being asked there. Are you asking...
Okay, I'm going to be very blunt. Almost all questions in the world can be answered with yes or no. And sometimes when you answer yes, you just need to specifically state a couple of things, say your exceptions, say when and why. But typically almost everything can be answered with yes, mostly yes, no, mostly no, and stuff like that. So this is already a very, very interesting way of answering. Do you want to work on Fallout again?
Me, would I want to remake Fallout as a 3D game? Are you asking me, would I want to make a Fallout offshoot? Like Fallout New Vegas is. It's not a numerical one of the Fallouts. It's just, here's Fallout in a new place. Do I want to make Fallout 5? So...
Sounds unnecessarily complicated to look at this question.
The answer is complicated because it's not really what you think. I'm not talking about, but it depends on what kind of authority I have, or it depends on what it's, who's in charge or whatever. No, it has nothing with that. What I want to do is, and I know I have a career video that goes over all my games, but
if you're confused, so am I. So we're at least on the same page there.
I think if you look at all the RPGs I've made over the years, there is a pattern to them. Once you understand the pattern, that will give you a context for my answer on whether I'd make another Fallout game. And the TLDW is every RPG I ever made offered me something new and different that got me interested in making it. It had nothing to do with money, power, authority, role on the game. It was the game itself offered me something interesting that made me go, ooh, I want to do that. I've never done that.
Okay, I'm going to just spell it out right here. If I was someone and I was looking to hire a worker, and they came in and said stuff like this to the question, do you want to work here? And they said this, well, it's actually much more complicated. It has nothing to do with how I work or what I work, who's in charge, but the question is a lot more complicated than that. I would be like, nope, thank you, nope. This is insanity. No.
Now you could go back and look at every single one of my game development story videos. If you don't know already, there are a ton of playlists on this channel, and some are by company, and some are by role you are, programming, artist, production. But you can also look it up by game. So there's a Fallout playlist, and you can see all my game development stories about Fallout. There's an Arcanum playlist, and you can see all my game development stories about Arcanum.
Okay.
But there is a common thread to all of them that I will lay out here. And if you want, there's too many to list below. Go to one of the game playlists and watch them with this new lens of, oh, Tim did that game because it offered him something different. So, and I also don't want to ignore the first 3 games I did. So that would be Grand Slam Bridge, Bard's Tale Construction Set, and Rags to Riches. These 3 games were assigned to me, and I was happy to do it. I mean, first of all, that represents the first 13 years I was in game development, and that's really common. That games are just assigned to you. Your whole career, you may just work on games that are assigned to you. I got lucky that I got to start picking what my projects were, and then starting with Fallout, every game since, except one, and I'll mention it, was a game I wanted to work on. Whether it was assigned to me or not, it was one I would have picked because there was something in it that I wanted to do. Also, I was very happy to work on those first 3 games because, and I've said this before, you can like games, you can play games, you can talk about games, and you can watch all the game development videos in the world, but none of that is a substitute to rolling up your sleeves and actually doing game development. So I was happy to work on those games because I learned a ton about game development.
Okay.
So let's talk about Fallout. Fallout was my first project, like the first project that was assigned to me. I was the producer. I was the project leader. I was the person who was going to run this project. That was amazing. And if you watch my videos, it kind of just happened. It was supposed to be someone else, and he was too busy, and then it got assigned to me, but I didn't have anybody. It just kind of grew from there. I loved it. To me, this is my first project. I can grow it into anything I want, any setting, any story.
Is this going to be 17 minutes of him just, saying, amazing stuff that happened in my life? That's cool. But when people want to hear about life stories, well, people want to hear about stuff like this also. But usually it's the fun one. The one where you almost drown because you drove off a bridge or something like that. Those things are fun to look back at. But, I mean, I got given Fallout at random is cool, and you can probably tell a lot about development, but are we really here for that?
I can pick the mechanics that are going to be on it. That was amazing to me. Funny, when I look back on it, there were still people at Interplay that came up to me and said, wow, you've only been here a couple years and you're already on your first project. To which I would reply, yeah, but I've been in the industry for 13 years. You can't claim that's fast. Getting your first project after 13 years isn't exactly a meteoric rise. So,
probably true.
I loved working on Fallout.
Well, definitely true. 13 years is a long time.
Watch my videos.
For any profession.
I loved it. I loved the team. There was so much about that project. Everything just fell into being right. I mean, there were a lot of speed bumps too, but I want to make clear that the reason I didn't want to do Fallout 2, even before there were any issues towards the end, when it turned out, hey, this is a really cool game, we should start a sequel, I was like, I don't really want to work on that. I told that to Fergus, and he assigned a new team, and they went off and running. And it was because I don't really like working on sequels. I've got a whole video about that. There was basically nothing about Fallout 2 that said to me, hey, you want to do this? It's really cool. I mean, you could spin it and say, hey, it's your first sequel. But I was like, I just spent 3.5 years working on Fallout. Why would I want to make Fallout 2? And just to say I put the money where my mouth was, when I left Interplay and EA offered me a job, a well-paying job, doing Wasteland 2, I turned that down too for the same reason. I just made a post-apocalyptic game. Why would I want to do another one?
Jesus Christ, at this point it's gonna be, oh, well, I made one game, then I left the game industry because I already made a game, and, why would I want to do that again? It's not gonna be like that, obviously, but Jesus, this is the way it's kind of feeling. So
when Leonard Barsky and Jason Anderson and I put together Troika, it was because we talked about it and we're like, hey, it's our turn to make a fantasy game. We really wanted to make a fantasy RPG. We hadn't done that. Of course, we put our own spin on it with the magic tech stuff, but that was what Arcanum was to me. It's like, hey, you're going to have your own company. You can make your own fantasy game. It can be anything you want. I've said one of the big problems with that is we didn't have an editor, so we all just shoved in every idea we ever had up to that point. Arcanum is very much a kitchen sink game because it's got just so many features in it, and because of that, some of the features are only halfway done. There's a lot of bugs, whatever.
I haven't played Arcanum, but I have seen Seth's review on it. Seems pretty good.
I still love Arcanum because it was my first fantasy IP. After Arcanum shipped, and we got offers from different things. I mean, I talk about what we were going to do with Arcanum 2 and Lord of the Rings, but when Atari came to our office and said, we want you to make a D&D game, and you can pick what you want to do, and I was thinking, It's third edition, which I like.
But we have already done a fantasy game, Tim. How how can we do that again?
It's no one's ever done Greyhawk. No one's ever done Temple of Elemental Evil, which I loved from high school. Maybe I get to talk to Gary Gygax, and I did. That was just too much. These are things you can do that are new and original that you've never done. I had to say yes. Now, when the Bloodlines offer came along to work on Vampire Bloodlines, that was great too. I mean, that would have been, and actually shouldn't say would have been, from Tim in 2001, it would have been my first 3D game, and it was. It also turned out to be the first game I ever made in a game engine that I didn't create. So Source was the first game engine I ever used, Valve's Source engine. It was interesting to see a game engine made by somebody else. And also, it was the first time I worked in C++. I knew it. I'd been academically trained in it, but all my games up until this point had been in C with some assembly. So Vampire alone, Bloodlines, was a lot of firsts. First 3D game.
Well, you can say whatever you will about the guy, but his resume of stuff that has been great is kind of extensive. He is definitely what you would call a gaming pioneer at the bare minimum.
First C++ game. First game in an engine I didn't make.
But still, the fact that he commented on the Fallout TV show being great. Nah, man. You made a world. You chose what's inside of it. And then someone looked at it, spat on it, and said, all of this is stupid. This is how it's gonna work now. And you're completely fine with it? I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
That was wild. After Troika shut down and I cast about, I had fallen in love with MMOs. I've talked about EverQuest. I've talked about World of Warcraft. The idea of being able to go to Carbine and make an MMO was too attractive not to say yes to.
Oh, he was on WildStar. That's bad.
It was sort of like, hey, I've done a lot of RPGs. Now let's do an MMORPG. Chance to learn about online games and how you handle having thousands of people on a server, how you handle, the front end for that networking code. Just it was writing AI that had to handle not just a few dozen creatures or a few hundred creatures, but literally thousands of creatures. I was like, I have to be part of that. Okay. Later, when I left Carbine and I was casting about for something to do, someone at Interplay or somebody at Obsidian who knew me knew that I wasn't looking for like, hey, where can I make more money than what I made at Carbine? Where can I be a director again? When they said, hey, would you like to come to Obsidian and help us out? He went, it's a console game.
Currently, it sounds like... okay, this is probably not true, but currently it sounds like Bethesda can get this guy working on anything that they want and offer him, I don't know, a sandwich in return, and that's enough because it's a wild new thing. You're gonna be making something unique and, for first of the line type of deal. Yeah, this sounds so strange in my opinion. I get it, yeah, the guy's not in it for, the money, even though there's a lot of money, obviously, in being high positions and whatnot, but he has enough money, he's chill with that. He's more interested in actually doing something unique, but currently, I can't actually understand one thing about the guy. Is he actually interested in creating a game world with unique stuff and things like that, or is he actually more interested in the technology and systems that make the stuff run? Because currently it sounds like he's more interested in just the coding, honestly, than actually anything else. And if he is interested in the coding more than anything else, then that kind of does explain why he is completely fine with the Fallout TV show completely spitting on something that he created. Because he only cares about the coding and, all of that stuff.
I had never made a console game. I started at Obsidian in 2011, so I'd been in the industry for 20 years. Or no, 2011. I'd been in the industry for 30 years. 30 years. 30 years, I had never, ever, ever made a console game. So I was really excited about that. Now, it turned out it was, in addition to Xbox, it was PlayStation 3. And I found the PlayStation 3 a challenging experience. But keep in mind, I'm not talking about challenge here. And I want to distinguish that. I'm not saying I kept looking for new challenges. I just kept looking for something that was different, something I hadn't done before. I'd never done console programming. So for me, South Park was an interesting game, not because of the IP, which I...
He was in the Stick of Truth also? Jesus. This guy's just... Okay, so... From everything he's saying, it really does sound like, hey, I don't actually care about what you're making. I just want to kind of get new experiences. And you're telling me he just lucks out in getting in all of the best-sounding projects? Because currently, again, he's not saying a single word about, oh, yeah, I was interested in the story. Dude, his answer could be like, what the hell is even South Park at this point? And I wouldn't be too surprised. I am so confused about Tim Kaine as a well, I'm not, but I kind of can't understand the love for one thing being so high that you don't care about anything that surrounds that one thing. This is what's currently in my mind about him, and I just don't understand that principle. It's like saying, hey, I have a family of 10 people, but my relationship with family person number 7 is higher than anyone else. So as long as family person number 7 is okay, I don't care what's happening to anyone else. This is what this answer feels like. This is what the story feels like. Kind of strange.
I did like. And not for the chance to work at Obsidian where about a third of the people there were people I already knew from Interplay. It was, hey, I get to make a console game. That was fun. And then when we were finishing up with South Park, and Josh and Adam had the idea to do a Kickstarter game, and that was what became Pillars, that was interesting to me. Kickstarter, what is this new thing? You can make a game without a...
Bro, no, seriously, you hear this? I'll just refrain from speaking.
Publisher? Wow. Plus, they were going to do it on Unity, which had been floating around for a while. I had never done anything on it. There was an opportunity to code in C#, which again is something that I had been new for.
Okay, so if the government asked Tim Kaine to create a program that tortures children, would he agree because he has never written code for a machine that would do it? Would that interest him?
Wow, I knew C# as far back as maybe 2005, so I'd already been doing stuff in C#. So when we started Pillars in 2014, that's almost 9 years of C# experience. But a chance to actually make a game with it, I had never done. And at this point, I should say, because I had done Source before, and now Unity was the second engine I was going to use, I would like to point out that you don't really know an engine until you make something with it. There was nothing...
Oh my god, he even was a part of Tyranny? There's no way, dude. Okay, just stop. And Outer Worlds wasn't that great.
Evaluated way back when we were thinking about doing Bloodlines, before Source was the one that our publisher said, hey, people are always going to spin it that way of I guess it's nice you don't need the money. And I was not in a good financial state to spin up to go, oh yeah, I'll be fine if this doesn't work out. No, I was going to be really screwed if it didn't work out. But ironically, I want to finish this up. I've been approached by people recently, like in the last few years, like over the pandemic, by people wanting me to direct a game for them with money in their hands. But there was absolutely nothing new in the offer for me. And they tried to convince me, don't you?
So he doesn't even answer, does he want to do a new Fallout series? Because there's not enough technology. I guess if they do Fallout in VR, he's going to instantaneously say yes. What a guy! I mean, I don't agree with the worldview, but it seems a little bit strange to me that someone is just so straightforward in the line and nothing surrounding it matters. but now my initial theory at the start of the video, gone, gone. It's broken. Nope, not through. He just doesn't give a shit. He just cares about technology. Okay, yeah. And he has been on a bunch of different good things because he's a coder. I don't get it. Is Tim Kaine just the luckiest man alive in gaming history, or what is happening here? I'm so confused. Anyway, well, again, that was Tim Kaine. Timothy, I guess we should. Timothy Boy Okano. Anyway, yeah, bye bye.